What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. And today's video is going to be a reaction to a brother named International Zoe. Now, in his video, he does talk about travel fatigue, and I do want to touch on this. And I think it's some important elements, not only that he talks about, but that I actually want to add to this video. So let's get into it.
Then again, I have been traveling around those locations too. But even when it comes to the ladies, I'm tired, man. I'm tired of meeting, fishing, multiple women. Like, okay, you get to a location, right? You gotta, I'm gotta clean the table. I'm outside. I like to be outside sometimes. I like the natural air at times when it's not too hot. I don't like the air con.
So I want to touch on this part, or basically, I think a lot of people who don't travel frequently, you don't really know how annoying it is to have to do essentially what he's saying is continuously fish and search and set up dates and deal with BS, and then go out to meet the chick, and then the chick is maybe not as good looking, or maybe she's just there for the food. And I think it's no matter what country you go to. I know this is a problem definitely in the US, but foodie dates, girls just wanting to meet up for a free dinner. Basically, this happens all over the world, no matter what country you go to. So, it gets very exhausting. I've had friends here in Medellin that were expats that have been living in, Medellin, let's just say 6 months or so. And they themselves have gotten burnt out from dating here in Medellin. And I think it's not just here, it's also in the Philippines, it's everywhere. Like, it definitely can happen where you just get burnt out. And this specific friend that I'm talking about, he had to go up to Guadalupe, which is about 2 hours away from Medellin, and basically just stay out there for a month. And he just took his dog and himself and just went out there and just needed some kind of solitude for a while, because he just was exhausted of dealing with dating here in Medellin. So apart from just the constant travel of having to pack up, go to a new place, then deal with trying to get acclimated, then date, and then get up and then do it again, yeah, it's super exhausting.
As they call it here. But it's tiring. You on social media apps, you go out. It's a lot of work meeting women. You go on the apps, you're looking for women. Some of them are just there for money. But you got to meet them. Another thing is they come not looking like their pictures.
Now, he's in, I believe, Thailand. But I would say here in Medellin, you definitely don't have that issue where you get catfishing. Most girls that, if you meet them online, they're showing up, how they look in their pictures is how they look in reality. But yeah, it's definitely a lot of work dating when you have, let's just say you go abroad, and yes, you may have more options, but that options doesn't mean they're going to be quality options. This just means you have more quantity to go through, and it's just more bullshit and more stuff to actually sift through, dealing with these women, definitely on the dating side of it. So yeah, it's a lot of work.
Say you meet, you have lunch, you have a drink, something of the sort. It's still your time, it's still your energy. And it might just be a one-day thing. You might not be interested in them. They might not be interested in you. and that's getting a little tiring. Uh-huh. You know, and when you're doing it as much as I'm doing it, it could be tiring, man. And if you get a whole bunch of matches, you got to sort through the matches. You got to decline on some of the interests. You know, they just don't look. They ain't looking up to your speed, and you got to decline. So you declining a lot, or if you're getting a lot, sometimes then you're declining a lot. Then you got to talk to them and find out what they're about.
And a huge thing is too, I don't think he mentions this, is that you also got to deal with the amount of girls who are just basically there to waste your time. If you're on dating apps, and doesn't just go for the US or Australia or I would say maybe even the UK. So a lot of women on these apps, they're just looking for attention, they're looking for validation, and then they're also looking for entertainment. You know, they may be just home bored, have nothing to do, may not even really be interested in meeting you, but they will waste your time. They're going to talk to you for a little bit and then just disappear or stop responding or whatever it may be. But this is just the things you have to deal with. And but I will say this, the longer you are in a country and the more that you are investing in that country, the more likely it's going to be that you will find something of quality, or something you deem of quality. But it's not something you're going to find if you're just in the city or in a country for a month and then you're out and on to the next one. I would say let's just say if you went to get a job and you don't know if that job you're going to have that job for 1 month or 2 weeks or whatever, you probably wouldn't want to invest much in that job. Shit, you probably wouldn't even take the job because you would rather have something more stable. So for a lot of these women in these other countries, definitely, let's just say like here in Medellin, they're a lot of I would say the normal ones, they're tired of the sex tourism. They're tired of meeting guys, maybe liking them, becoming a little bit invested, and then the guy just up and leaves and doesn't come back or whatever. So, a lot of these women, they're tired of dealing with the man too, or they're just like, all right, well, I'm gonna get out of them what I can get because I know that they're not here long term, or they just won't deal with you in general. Like the very upper class type women, a lot of them, they just won't deal with foreign men because of that reason. So definitely, if you're just in and out of places, it's going to be a lot harder to find quality than if you are actually living there.
Some of them really want to meet some people and make new friends. Some of them just on there to make money. But the ones that's there to make money, they tell you within a few texts. Or they ask you what you're looking for to see if you're just looking for sex. And then you meet with some of them. Sometimes they don't look as good as their pictures. Sometimes you sit down with them, you don't feel like you got really chemistry, or either you could tell they're not feeling you or you're not feeling them. So it's work, man. That's why all this, you're gonna get a girl overseas, all this shit. I just say, there's the fantasy of it and then there's the reality of it. The reality of it, if you want to find a proper chick, it's gonna take just as much work as it'll take anywhere else to find the proper one that has the things that you're looking for, you have the things that they're looking for.
And that's 100% true. I've been living here in Medellin now for a little over a year, and I've been single. Excuse me. I've been single for pretty much most of that year. Now I've dated, I've had fun, I've had hookups, but I have not found anything of quality as far as what I'm looking for. And if you're a man that has any kind of standards, um, you won't just put up or settle for any kind of behavior or anything or any kind of treatment, meaning like girls disrespecting you. And when I say disrespecting you, I don't mean verbally. I mean like, you know, hey, you're supposed to meet and then they show up an hour late. You know, it's basically disrespecting you and your time. If you don't want to put up with that type of stuff, yeah, it's going to take you a lot longer to find someone versus, if you don't really have any standards or, you don't really care about that type of stuff, then yeah, you can find someone fairly quickly. But definitely for me, the reason I've been single is because it's extremely hard to date and find someone of quality here in Medellin. I would probably, echoing what he said, that's anywhere, but especially here in Medellin. So you have to kind of make sure that you're setting a roots and you're going to be somewhere for a while in order to meet someone of significant quality.
It's not an easy task meeting anybody. Might be some elements that you don't, that's not normal in these places that you don't might not have to deal with, but there's other hurdles that you gotta get over too.
I'm going to London at August.
Do you mean I am going to London in August?
I'm going to London in August.
Yes.
And so I was just thinking today, like, Ty, man, I want Ty friendly. Might get a lot of interest, but is the interest reciprocated? And I know it is, and maybe in America it might be bad, but fat chicks is always going to be interested.
So to this point, I would say in general, on a attraction scale, if we say 1 through 10 is your general attraction scale, and let's just say you are a 6, you're slightly above average, or you're 6.5, let's just say 7 max. You're always going to attract more. The chicks that are going to show more interest are going to be the girls who are a 6 or a 5 and below. The girls who are, 8, 8.5, 9s, 10s, if you aren't a 9 or a 10, it's going to be hard to attract those type of women. So yeah, in general, you're always the less attractive chicks are always going to be more interested, because women generally, and this is every country, like to date up. They don't usually want to date down. So unless you're just, and I have heard this, unless you're just like a super, super fit, like gym rat type of guy, there are a lot of women I've heard who don't really like those type of guys just because they themselves don't want to be subjected to going through everything that person goes through, like the dieting, the exercising. They may not want to go to the gym as much as that person does, or talk about fitness and health and eat the same diet. So I have heard some women don't want to date a guy like that just because they don't want to, basically go through the same thing or deal with the same thing. But yes, it is a real thing that you are going to attract a couple points less, or a point to 2 points less than whatever your rating is as far as attractiveness.
It's always going to be them fat chicks that they hungry. So they definitely trying to match with you. And you got to shut a lot of them down. That's anywhere.
The thing too, he's mainly talking about just online dating.
Then there's the ones who are just on there trying to make money.
Yeah, if you get off the apps and, at least here in Medellin, if you're trying to meet women through friends, if you're trying to build some type of social circle and then meet girls through those social circles, or let's say take a class at like a university and then you're meeting women in those type of settings, you're definitely going to be a lot better than just going through the apps. At least here in Medellin, I can't speak on other countries, but here in Medellin, I would say, if not 70%, it could be a little bit more. Majority of those women are on there to meet foreigners. that's their primary goal, especially the ones here in Medellin. If they they don't speak English, but they've translated, their bio or their whole dating app profile into English. So, if you have a girl that's specifically looking for that, then, versus it's just a random girl who, maybe not really have dated a foreigner, but, is open to it, you're going to have a lot more success.
And that's not what you're looking for. You got to shut them down. Then there's the ones that you might find attractive who's not they're not responding to your like. You know what I mean? It's not. It's thank God.
All right, I want to say this as well. So, in general, if you pursue the girls that like you and not the girls, or let's just say pursue the women that want you and not the women that you want, you will be 10 times more happier than if you're consistently trying to chase the women that you want and they may not want you, as he's saying, or they're just maybe not that interested in general, because you're going to try to do more for them to impress them because you want them, or you got them on a pedestal, or you just think they're, oh, they're a 10 to you, and you want to get that. So it's going to be, as well, you're going to put up with a lot more bullshit than you probably normally would. Make exceptions, accept little things like, she's late, but damn, she looked good. So I'm going to, excuse it this time, give her a pass. So yeah, the girls that are interested in you may not be the 9 or 10, but trust me, they're going to do more for you. And this is probably applicable to everywhere, not just Medellin, but those girls are going to do a lot more for you, invest more, try to actually make you happy versus, the girl who's the 10, who has a million dudes after her and is just kind of nonchalant, whatever, about you or what, or anybody. But I always joke around with my friends and I say, well, I'd rather have 2 5s, that do everything for me versus the 9 or 10 that, she's a fucking headache and I gotta go through a bunch of stress just to date her.
I'm not really looking for anything serious. I'm definitely not looking for a wife. But if something comes along that's decent that I could work with, I would entertain it. And then they want to know when did you arrive to their country or their city? Are you living there? How long are you staying? All these things play a factor in meeting someone and making it a reality and not just a fantasy.
100% true. Agree with him on that. It's definitely here in Medellin. You will get women that do, I would say, if they're genuinely interested in you, they will ask, how long are you here for? Because as I said before, a lot of the women here are tired of sex tourism. They're tired of, you know, dealing with a guy and the guy's only here for a weekend or a month and then the guy leaves and they basically got to start all over again. At least the normal girls, the normal Colombian women, not the, the sex workers, or I would say even the girls who are sex workers, but will pretend that they want a normal relationship, or may switch up and like leave sex work if they can find a guy who will save them and get them out of it. Not those girls. I'm talking about just normal, average Colombian women. They're going to ask you these questions because they want to know, are they wasting their time? And it goes back to my job analogy, as I was saying, if you don't want to invest in anything if you know that it's going to end in a short period. So it's the same thing with these women. They just, want to make sure that they're not wasting their time.
So it takes a lot of commitment from your end to stay put in a place. You really got to find a place that you want to live.
And I'll say this as well. I get a lot of people that talk shit to me about living in Medellin. Oh, why you want to live in Medellin? Oh, why you want to deal with women who, may drug you and rob you? Why do you, um, you know, live in Medellin? That they don't like gringos or whatever. And I say this: pick a country or a city in a country, whatever it is, and you genuinely enjoy everything about the country, or maybe not everything, because there's no such thing as a perfect place, but you enjoy 80% of what that city and the country has to offer versus you're just searching for 100%, because 100% doesn't exist. Nothing is perfect. And you finding 80% of what you like in anything is extremely rare, whether it's in a woman, whether it's in a job, whether it's in a city, it's in a car. Hardly ever are you going to find 80% of things that you just truly like or love about something. So 80% should be good enough for you. And the other 20% should be that, it's just things that you can tolerate or accept. For example, there's cultural differences, things here that I may not like, but it's part of that 20%. I still have 80% of the other things that I enjoy about Medellin, aside from women. I didn't come to Medellin just for women. Now, as well, to go off on another side note here, that I also, when I do talk to women here, I showed them that I have actual roots here. Like, I have things that are tie me down. Okay, I'll use this word, anchors. That I have actual anchors. So I'm not just going to get up and leave. So starting off with number one, I'll say, or they'll see that I have a Colombian cell phone. It just shows that, hey, if he has a Colombian cell phone, it means he's invested, that he's actually trying to stay here. He's not just going to leave like right away. The other thing is, I have a visa, I have a cedula, I'm in the process of buying a car here. So I'm basically displaying a lot of anchors to show, like, hey, I'm not just going to up and leave. And these type of things are actually going to make you more attractive or more desirable for more quality women than just the low hanging fruit or the bottom of the barrel type women. So yeah, you got to have anchors. So, and going back to what I was saying before, is the main thing is just, you should like 80% of the things that the country or the city has to offer, aside from women. Women should be a completely a whole different subject of that.
You got to learn the culture. You might have to learn a language. It's some serious work, man. It's not a walk in the park at all. Now, if you're just going to these places to have fun, then that's a different story. That's a totally different story. And when it comes to that, you get what you get. You get what you get, or you get what you pay for, maybe. So I like to see those guys who are traveling, that are meeting women, or that maybe have expated to a country. How long did it take for you to find a girl or find a woman, find a partner, something serious? How long did that take?
And for me, my answer in his question is, I still haven't, and it's been a year and 2 months. So yeah, it definitely, it ain't easy. It takes time. That's pretty much the end of his video. And I'm going to wrap it up here too by saying, some of the things that I spoke on in this video. One, if you have this fantasy of just, oh, I'm going to just, travel, or you're envious of somebody who travels and goes to a bunch of different cities. Yeah, realistically, it's like a job. It's definitely a lot of work. It's tiring. You may not get the results that you thought you were going to get. I know in my case, it's definitely true. So for maybe the first 6 months after I lived in um, Medellin, I was like, oh, I'm American. And not that I thought being American meant that I'm entitled to the baddest women in the city or in the country. It's just like, oh, I'm American, I have a little bit of status. I'm good looking for the most part. I dress well. I have style. I'm funny. I have a lot to offer as far as not only knowledge, but guidance and everything else. So I have a lot to bring to the table as far as for, a woman in this country. And, I was like, oh, well, I want the nines and the tens. And, you know, I hit like a harsh reality or, wake up call when I got here and I saw like, it ain't that easy to get those women. And then even if you deal with them, they may have a bunch of negatives that you don't like, that you want to commit to long term. Now, maybe you might just want to deal with them for bedroom fun and, that's it. But if you're looking for a serious partner, and I'll give you some examples. Here in Medellin, or I think it's Colombia as a whole, and I've said this in other videos, it's somewhere around 80% of the women here are single moms. So if you're a guy who doesn't want to date a woman with kids, you only got 20% of the women here that, won't have kids. That's still a lot out of, I believe it's 4 million people here in Medellin, 4 or 5 million. So out of that, if 20% don't have kids, because, there definitely are more women here in Medellin than there are men. So I'm going to say slightly over 60%, of it is women. So there's still a large number of women that won't have kids, but the majority of women you're going to run into have kids. Or maybe you don't like, a woman who vapes or whatever it is, or has a bunch of tattoos or whatever. It's going to start dwindling that number down to a much smaller percent of women that's available to you. And that doesn't even include if the women are, gay or whatever, have a boyfriend, that aren't actually available to you. And I've said this before, that I think Medellin is full of what I call hypothetical options. And a lot of guys want to come out here and they're like, oh, there's all these women that I could be dating or could having sex with. And in reality, you wouldn't. You don't know if you're that woman's type, if she's married, if she's gay, whatever it may be. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching. I know it's a little bit of a long one, but I definitely wanted to touch on, some of the topics that he spoke about. And I wanted to also put this out there that, don't just think you're going to come to a different country and it's going to be a cakewalk and you're just going to find your wife to be, within a few months. I mean, granted, it may have happened for some people, but, I'm not talking about the exception to the rule. I'm talking about the general, the general. And in general, most of us, that ain't going to happen. So that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching, man. Please make sure y'all subscribe and hit a like and leave me some comments. I definitely try to get back to you guys, and appreciate it. And until the next one, y'all be easy.